I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I can actually record. Yeah, no, I can't record it over here.
Oh, okay.
I could actually record my own. Let me see.
Yeah, no, I mean, this will, I mean, it said it's recording now, and what happens, that usually means is people leave their cameras off, but the important thing is you and what you're showing, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow, I'm so excited about this.
Yeah, same here.
It's been listening to Alan play the guitar over the last couple of months has been nice. I was like, oh, guitar is so nice. Even though he keeps playing Satie over and over and over and over.
Yeah, you know what? In my course, I think I said once or twice in some of what I wrote that, you know, there are some things that you should practice in a place where nobody else can listen, nobody else can hear. But it is hard to listen to somebody play. I mean, remember Manuela used to, when she was composing, and I mean, sometimes until 10 at night, and she would be playing the same chords over and over, and like changing one note, and then she would ask me, hey, which sounds better, this or this? It was a little bit.
Yeah, I think if most people here are in that situation too. It just, yeah, it takes a long time.
Yeah, all of that stuff takes time to perfect.
Okay, so we have like 3 minutes and only 4 people here. Oh, Deborah Kay is here. Maybe you know Deborah. Yeah. I'm going to mute myself right now because I'm going to get a siren in a second. You know, New York.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen, this screen again. Just hopefully the shared screen will get onto the recording. I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't happen.
Oh, I hope it does.
Yeah.
It just says recording.
So I think actually what I might do is make a recording myself with a different app. Let me just see. I might just make a screen flow recording just to make sure that I get myself in.
Yeah.
See if I can do that. Just record both screens here.
Hi, Deborah. Hi, Beth. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
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 We're doing Jay's doing all this technical stuff. He's like the guru of all this stuff. So
That's exciting.
Hey, Deborah, where are you now? Whoops, did she leave?
well, she's muted, so maybe she stepped away to get her
Oh,
a cup of coffee.
Yes, I'm here. No, I'm here. I'm in Beacon.
yeah, I was wondering if you were in Beacon.
Yep. Where are you?
What?
Where are you?
Oh, upstate at my house.
Yep. Nice. Nice.
Oh, Lillian's here too.
Is she a new member?
I don't know, Lillian, are you a member now or?
Wait a second, I'm sorry. I'm just putting everything on.
Yeah.
Hi. I've been checking it out. I might join.
Great.
It's a good organization, if I do say so.
Well, great people and good opportunities, I think.
Yeah.
Lillian, did you meet Jay before?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay, yeah. He used to be roommates with Manuela. Do you remember Manuela, the saxophone player? Yeah.
Yeah, so sweet.
Okay.
I had the good fortune. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
I was just had the radio on for a second and Memories of Alhambra came on and I thought, oh, wow, how perfect guitar solo.
Okay. All right. So can you, hi everybody.
Yeah, so well, we go. I'll turn it over to Jay. Let him start, and I guess maybe Jay, if you want to know who people are, they can introduce themselves.
Sure, yeah.
So we're here talking about how to write for classical guitar, and a lot of us who know Jay very well can vouch for him, and he'll demonstrate that in a minute. But let me turn it over to you, Jay, and I'm going to mute this here because like otherwise we have sirens every 10 minutes or something. But okay, so great. Welcome to How to Write for Classical Guitar.
Right. Yeah, thank you. And I mean, I moved out of New York sometime in the last 2 years it was ever, and in Tucson. And yeah, as you can see, I have kind of a nice studio here, at least to be roomy. And actually, my question is, I have a lot to cover, so I don't want to spend too much time just talking. But can you all see the screen share? How to write?
Yes,
You can all see that. And then can you all see me also?
yes.
Okay, all right. So at various times, I'll probably shift around the view and everything. And this is all to talk to composers. It's been a long time since I've even talked to a single composer. But let me just get to it. So how to write for classical guitar. So there was this guitarist, Julian Bream. Has anybody or everybody heard of Julian Bream? Yeah. So I mean, one of the greats. And he wrote a piece, or he wrote an article in, I don't know what, 50 years ago or something, how to write for classical guitar. And I used that as kind of my taking off point for this, because it was so well written, and I think it actually inspired. It inspired a lot of the greatest pieces that were written, especially in that time, like the Nocturnal by Benjamin Britten and a bunch of other pieces. So the main thing for me that I mean, at least to start out in communicating to anybody who wants to write for classical guitar, is to really consider what kind of an instrument it is, and what it's capable of, what its voice is. And so I'm just going to go through a couple of these interesting quotes from what other people heard in guitar. Now, Ludwig van Beethoven is said to have said, the guitar is a miniature orchestra in itself. He was friends with Mauro Giuliani, who was a very popular guitar virtuoso and composer. But there's controversy. It's possible that Segovia said it. That's a small orchestra, and it's polyphonic. Every string is a different color, a different voice. And somehow he popularized the idea that Ludwig van Beethoven said that. We don't know. Some famous composers sometimes say nice things about us guitarists, and then they go back and write most of their good stuff for the louder instruments, of course. But Niccolò Paganini said that I love the guitar for its harmony. He actually used it a lot for writing, and he wrote actually one really good sonata for the classical guitar. And one thing that I will suggest, if you want to write for classical guitar, is to study some of these pieces, some of this other repertoire that's well done. And his sonata is really, really well written for guitar, and it's actually one of the best classical pieces for guitar. Then we got who is this? Manuel de Falla. It's the most complete and richest in harmonic and polyphonic possibilities.
Jay,
Yes.
which piece did you say was that you just as the
Oh, okay, yeah. I'll provide a list later on. I actually, because I was working so hard in putting this together, I didn't fill out my list, but it's Paganini. I I think it's just called Sonata in A minor. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay.
And he wrote a bunch of other pieces. So like if you just go like on Spotify or somewhere, look for Paganini solo guitar, you'll find it.
Okay.
There's
Thank
a bunch of people who have recorded that. Then we got heavy metal rock guitarists, often fascinated or obsessed with classical guitar. And sometimes they go through conversion experiences and become classical guitarists. You probably know some of those people. And then this is an interesting thing. I'm not too familiar with Steve Vai, but I like this quote: the classical guitar is a dynamic, unlike a regular acoustic guitar or an electric guitar. It's an extremely dynamic instrument. Now, what that means to me is that the range and character of expression is greater than other types of guitar. So like a steel string guitar, it's hard to play counterpoint. A lot of it sounds really great strumming. It's loud and all that, but it doesn't have a lot of variety. And the same with electric guitar, of course, you can play around with it, but there's a lot of, I mean, ask Jimi Hendrix about the range and dynamics. So anyways, the dynamic range of the classical guitar isn't that wide compared to most instruments, but somehow within what it's capable of, it creates a whole world of variety. So here is the key to composing your best for the classical guitar. So let me see if now that doesn't work. So understanding the guitar's nature and its possibilities. One thing is that it's evocative, and your key question when writing for the instrument should be, why do I want to write this for guitar? What is it about the sound or the tone or the magic of it that I really want to evoke that I couldn't do on any other instrument? So what do you want to evoke through the medium of guitar? And if you are a melodic composer, don't hesitate. Melody has a really special kind of evocativeness on the Spanish guitar. I just had this little, so here's Garcia Lorca. Guitar is woven into mythology and culture, a lot of culture. And Garcia Lorca, a Spanish poet, was famous for evoking the mystery of the guitar. And actually there's a poem in here where he, I think it's the source of While My Guitar Gently Weeps, because he's talking about the guitar weeping. I'm not going to read it right now. I don't think I have time. So it's versatile. It's found its way into nearly every culture. Some cultures have, of course, embraced it more. You got the Spanish guitar, Latin America. There's a lot of amazing music that you can listen to and study from Argentina, Venezuela, Paraguay, Brazil. But it can embrace and adapt itself to most musical styles in the Western art tradition and even worldwide. Even Ravi Shankar wrote a piece for flute and guitar. So what is this? This is a piece by Stephen Dodgson. I'll have it in the list. This is in terms of what to study in order to figure out how to write well for the guitar. These Stephen Dodgson studies are really good. So this is from the Concerto de Aranjuez. It's been so long since I played this. So you see that it carries a melody beautifully. Of course, we got the strummed chords and incredibly evocative instrument. And another thing, this is actually kind of important. It's suggestive, and that's, I'm not talking. I'm talking in terms of it suggests rather than fills everything out. So it's like a sketch or giving an impression. If you try to write too much in your guitar score, then it just becomes overly busy and it becomes too difficult to play. So all the musical effects or textures, such as counterpoint, harmony, all that, the listener, you put in a little bit of it, and then you focus on what you want to bring out most, and rather than providing every single voice, every single bit of accompaniment. You can do a bit of everything, but don't expect the guitar to do everything well all at once. As you can see, it can do the strumming and it can do the melody, and then it can do some other things with it. It's also very intimate. The classical guitars, classical guitar makers have been busting their chops for a long time trying to get it to go louder, to be more resonant, to like carry, through the sound of an orchestra. And so have guitar players trying to do this. But if you try too hard, it's like yelling on the guitar. If you push, if you try to make it into kind of that idea of what we listen to, a lot of guitar music through headphones or with a stereo, and it's recorded 6 inches away, and so it sounds like the guitar is 6 inches away, but in a hall it's not 6 inches away. With another when you're playing with another musician, the guitar is it has its own resonance within the hall, and it's high notes carry through, strumming will carry through, low notes, single notes. There are some things that will carry through, but it's kind of an intimate instrument. So keep that in mind. It's also very, very colorful. Takemitsu said that the guitar is actually a small orchestra of colors. So there's your orchestra again. Takemitsu is another guy that if you want to listen to some really well-written guitar music and imaginative, check out some of his scores. There's a variety of techniques and sounds, percussive effects, harmonics, and all that. And you got pizzicato, which sounds like a violin, like a string instrument or a cello plucked. I'm going to change my, let's see if I can find, no, not the microphone. My camera, so you can actually see me play. Whoops, that's not the phone. See me play a little bit better. There we go. So as you can see with pizzicato, you're holding the heel of your hand down here. Kind of mutes the string. And it sounds really good if your fingernail is properly cut. There are some limited, more quirky, specialized effects, which I'll talk about later. And then there's a tonal variety. So of course you can play sul tasto. If you play over here, it almost sounds like a clarinet. If you play over here, it gets really tinny. So there are those colors, and then the average sound is here. So there's a lot of colorful variety that you can use. Use it judiciously, don't overdo it. There's also tremolo. a while either. You can do tremolo where you're making the melody in a tremolo. You can also do a 5-note tremolo, like flamenco tremolo. Not quite as good at that. You can also do this sort of thing where you or you can do more flamenco kinds of rasgado techniques where it's actually very you have to formally practice some of that stuff. Another thing that I like to talk about is that the guitar is kind of reflective. A guitar has moonlight in it. It can be fiery and create and evoke a wide range of moods and emotions. It's been called an orchestra, but I think its basic nature is more reflective. It's more like the moon reflecting the sun's light, or a pond reflecting a forest. And by that I just mean it's similar to that idea that it suggests things, but it's not the thing itself in a way. It's still always the guitar trying to evoke something else, or evoking something else in a more poetic way. Okay, so let's go to the really more technical things about the instrument. And it's a very, very quirky instrument. So it's pretty much impossible for a composer, unless you want to just drive yourself insane, to get everything right. It's going to be pretty much impossible. But what I'll do is I'll just talk about it as if you're trying to get everything right. But ultimately, you just want to do your best and let whatever guitarist you're working with make suggestions and stuff like that. Do the rest. So let's see if I can, you'll usually work with the guitarist or even write a piece for a specific person. Let's assume that that's not happening, and let's talk about what the range of the instrument is. So it's similar to a violin and a cello. The violin is an octave higher in sound. The cello is actually the closest in sound to a guitar. And because of this, the unaccompanied violin sonatas by Bach are actually a really good guide to the counterpoint and harmony on the guitar. This is Bach Sonata number 1. This is completely playable on the guitar. You just have to finger it. This is a violin score right here. Oh no, actually, this is not a violin score. This is somebody. Oh, I see. So in other words, you can look at Bach's violin sonatas for solo violin, and a lot of what he does is going to work on the guitar. Now here is a cello. So I think the original cello suite was in G minor. I'm not sure, but Bach actually transcribed a cello suite for the lute, which is a very similar instrument. And this is another. I got to get my key straight. I need to. I have time to get my own version, so I'm a little confused reading it, but so you start to see like what the structure, the way guitar music is structured. It's written on a single staff in treble clef. It is played, the sound is an octave lower than written. This is a, anyways, that's more Bach. Of course, you got this. So that's a violin, famous violin sonata solo, and Bach arranged this also. And it sounds great on the guitar. He arranged it for lute, of course. So it brings out a different quality than if you play it on the violin. The violin like broadcasts it to the universe. The guitar makes it it brings out a completely different kind of beauty in a piece like that. Let me just see if there's a little bit more that I wrote over here. Yeah, all unaccompanied violin and cello music can be played on the guitar with very little change. No keyboard music can be played on the guitar. You have to carefully transcribe it and arrange it. That just shows the limitations of the instrument. And it's really a stringed instrument. It just has a few more strings than the violin or the cello. The traditional open string tuning is E, A, D, G, B, E. Sounds a lot octave lower than written. And so this is interesting that it's similar in range to a cello, but it doesn't sound like it because of the smaller body. It has a completely different resonance and all these higher overtones. Hence, the guitar's voice sounds higher than a cello, even though it could be playing the same note and it just sounds completely different because of the overtones. Okay, so here we have, yeah, the guitar's range. Let me just see, somewhere over here, there we go. This is the range, 3 octaves and a fifth. You got the low E right here, and goes up to, so this is a G, a little bit above the above the 12th fret, and you can see that I'm kind of, I have to play up here like this. The highest note on most guitars is a B, and Julian Bream says this several times in his piece, that the upper notes are generally of inferior quality. So just keep that in mind. They sound kind of thin and tight on the classical guitar, unless you really have an amazing instrument. I suppose some of them will sound a little better up there. But this is that's the highest note. Some guitars go to C. Let's see. So then there's the tuning. I think I talked more about this already. Alternate tuning, you can tune this string down to go down to a D. And that way you've got access to a different key, like the key of D. Sounds really great with that string tuned down to D. Right. So the range, third string. Okay, he's talking here about like what works above the 12th fret. If you don't write too much counterpoint above the 12th fret, you can play thirds, maybe sixths. Some chords, often in modern music, you'll have these sort of dissonant chords that are kind of really cool sounding. And actually, because the idea is that they're pretty shrill, they sound great up there. You can, but if you can't really play full chord there. Don't write bars above the 10th fret. There's the 10th fret. It's possible to play 11th fret, but it'll drive most guitarists crazy. So let's move on to, here's an example from Villalobos of a melody in the bass line. I tuned it down to a D. Now I got to bring it back up. There's a saying that guitarists tend to spend a certain number of years of their life tuning the guitar, and then a certain number of years playing out of tune. So exact relation is there, but. And notice that there's relative, it's pretty, he gets a lot out of writing not that much. The chords are only 3-note chords. He uses open strings. Those zeros signify that that these strings are open, and he combines those with harmonies. So you can do a lot with combining. These two notes are both open. Here's a chord. The only note that is you're actually fingering here is the C sharp or the C natural. And, okay, let's see. Span of the hand. So of course here's Ida Presti, who was probably one of the greatest guitarists ever, and supposedly she never practiced. And she's showing you that she can play a bigger span than most people, but not recommended. 5 or 6 frets between the first and fourth finger. The high chords can also use open basses, which always helps. But as you can see, I'll demonstrate this here. If you can, I'll do this first. So here you got the first. If you're in first position, the frets are harder or further apart, so you can only stretch maybe 1 extra fret. If you got a big hand, you could stretch 2 extra frets. So just keep that in mind. If you have that F in the bass, you're not going to be able to do a note that's up here. As you go higher, say as you go up to, you're in the even 4th position or 5th position, it's still pretty much the same. This is actually common. This here. Oops. That chord with a G and a B. It gets easier and easier to stretch. As you go higher, a 5th position and higher, you can kind of stretch maybe 6 frets. As you get up even higher, really you can stretch all the way to the top by then. So, but don't overdo the stretches. Let's see. Another thing about the guitar, hello. You want to use the most natural keys, the natural resonances of the guitar, unless you really want to torture your guitar player. The most common and easy keys because of the bass notes, A, E, and D, are these keys: A major, E major, D, G, C, and F, and the tonic minors, of course. You know, A minor, E minor, D minor, G minor, C minor. The difference, even F minor. And if you really want to write a piece, say in F minor, talk to your guitarist. You could actually tune one of the strings to F maybe. Then you can have that F note there. I think I wrote a piece like that too. It's an interesting trick. Atonal may be tricky unless the composer has a thorough knowledge of the fingerboard. So often you can play things that are high up. With a pedal point kind of deal. And it sounds decent, or it even sounds correct even if it's harmonically incorrect. That's what Julian Bream is talking about here. I'll share the article with you. You can read it. You can also occasionally, if you want, use a capo to completely change things. And you can also lute music used a different tuning, F, 3rd string to F, and that sounds amazing on the guitar, and it sounds. Let's see if I have this. What is that? It's going to share Joe Rabbit. There we go. Okay, no, that's not it. Anyways. Let's go back to where we were. So if I put the capo on here and I have it tuned to this chord, I can play some amazing African music. just to give you a taste of the kind of resonance, the kinds of tricks we do to get resonance going on the guitar. So chords in harmony, 5 and 6 note chords are always going to be slightly arpeggiated. It's because we only use 4 fingers. We use, here we got the thumb. I see that it's kind of freezing a little bit. We got the thumb and the index and the middle and the ring. So it's 4 fingers that we use to pluck the strings. So if you write a 4-note chord, you'll be able to have a just straight up harmony and counterpoint. But if you write a 5-note chord, it's going to be at least one of those notes is going to have to be slightly arpeggiated. And so with fast repeated chords, you want to, in general, you just want to condense all of your harmonic interest into 4-note chords. This is an example here from Villalobos. And then notice here on this chord here, he had to, because it's a 5-note chord, you have to arpeggiate that. Where is that? Anyways, notice how the bass moves around a lot. You got this bass here, then it goes down here, it goes to the open strings. So it uses a lot of open strings, while the there's one not open string, but actually 2. But it uses a lot of open strings and it gets a lot of mileage out of that. And it sounds good. Maybe a little bit harmonically abstract, but nevertheless, it sounds pretty cool. Let's see if we have another. Oh, there's the, so this is Aranjuez. If you are playing more than 4 strings, you can't skip a string. So you just have to strum all the notes have to be there. What is this? It's been so long since I've played. So rasgueado and flamenco techniques are really important on the guitar. They can be used to really good measure. Notice on this, here's another example, melodic writing. You got the melody at the top, and you got very, very kind of sparse accompaniment. This is Capriccio Arabi. And then you've got I didn't have time to actually play through these before I started because I was putting it all together. But what you notice is that there's usually just the bare bones of harmony. You've got the So this, for instance, this is let's see, F major. You got the root. You got the root and the third and the fifth right there. Nothing more, and then maybe a moving bass. So sometimes you just have the bass and the melody. But it still sounds really resonant. And then here you have the melody is being brought out by this finger. And then the harmony is up here at the top, just kind of filling it in. That's good guitar writing. Let's see. So open strings, I think I talked a little bit about that. Villalobos uses a lot of open strings. He'll write a whole piece with just the same chord moving up and down. Now you don't have to do that, but keep those open strings in mind. Another really important technique that shouldn't be overused, but the bar, you can hang your finger on any fret, and then, so here I have a C major chord, B major chord, A major chord, so it's possible to be holding down a chord and playing melodies and things like that and harmonies with the other fingers. And that's Paco de Lucia, he's great at that. Flamenco can do amazing, players can do amazing stuff with bars, the barre. Okay, counterpoint, check out Bach and Dowland and the lute players, lute composers, and Baroque composers for lute, and also Baroque guitar. There's a lot of great stuff there. So this is from Julian Bream. It's almost impossible to have two-part counterpoint at really fast. So like, if it's too fast, you just won't be able to play it. So keep it no more than like a eighth note, and simplify it. Again, it's all about suggestion. You hear the two-part counterpoint really sounds very full. Use that and then add discrete and fragmentary third and fourth parts in the form of harmonic punctuation. Look at the fugues, not the fuses, and other Bach compositions. And let's see, so here's a famous example. So this is Bach's Bourrée in E minor. So it's just two parts. It sounds incredibly full and interesting and fun. And so on. This is an example of It's a harpsichord piece by Domenico Cimarosa, a Baroque composer, and Julian Bream arranged this. Let's see. I'm not sure if I know this well enough, but so here is using a lot of bars. So you see how spare the writing is, and I'm sure that probably the original might have had like double octaves in the bass, or who knows what, more full chords, but he just chose exactly what's needed to just make it sound great. This is a Bach fugue that he transcribed this supposedly for lute. But a lot of people think that it was actually just written to be played on a harpsichord that sounded like a lute. But it is an example of fugues that are written that can be played on the guitar. And it gets more. But even as you add more voices, you kind of let others go. And occasionally down here, you'll be having a full chord or a 4-note chord. But again, you never have all of the voices like you would in a like on a piano piece, or if you were actually writing it for an ensemble. So then we got the trills and the ornaments and slurs and legato. Again, you don't want to get too complicated. You can't make a trill that will go for too long. So just go with. You can also use what we call cross string trills. This is something by Leo Brouwer, who is a great Cuban guitarist and composer, really famous. And again, these are really good if you want to study good guitar writing. It's good to study this. This is an example of a piece that is uses ornamentation. So a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs, that's what we call them. And notice this chord, for instance, here. And notice how I'm playing it. I could do, or I can do with an open. And this is an open string trill, would sound kind of like this, using some fancy fingering. Let's see, I think I had another piece by him that's really cool. But you know, we're kind of running out of time, so let's see. Arpeggios. Another thing that guitar does really well. They're very beautiful and evocative, of course. If you have playable chords, you can make an arpeggio out of any combination of the strings in those chords. And you can add slurs to them. Remember that the thumb generally gets these 4 strings. And fingers get these strings usually, but sometimes we have to adapt so that if the arpeggio is particularly complicated. The thumb is much more independent. And let's see, I've got some examples here. So this is a famous arpeggio from Villalobos. So he's using and then you speed it up. So use of open strings, bar chord, and eventually he takes that arpeggio through all of these open strings. Each one sounds different. And I forgot how that goes. Right, whoop. What happened there? Hold on a second. You don't want that. Oh, I see. Go away. Okay. Another kind of arpeggio is this, where it's more like a all the way up and down the fingerboard. Which combines slurs, hammer-ons, and pull-offs. And so you can do that kind of thing. And this is yet one more kind of an arpeggio, but I just wanted to show you the possibilities of slurs and pull-offs. Vernacular is a hammer-on and a pull-off. Or you can, if you want to be fancy, you can call it a slur. Actually, I call them hammer-ons and pull-offs most of the time, so can't even remember the actual classical music term at the moment. But no. You can see the guitarist gets a big workout from this piece. But that's an example. Let's talk about harmonics, because this is another really cool thing. Let's see. So tremolo, just something, oh, that got in there. I talked about it already. Yeah, tremolo. Remember, you can play the melody. You can also play the melody and the bass while you're doing a tremolo. So tremolo is just done by the thumb and then the fingers in a playing in a certain pattern. So harmonics. Actually, let's just go to the sheet where I tell you what the harmonics are. I don't think you can see that. Okay. So on the guitar, we have natural harmonics and also artificial, what we call artificial. But so the natural harmonics. So for instance, at the 12th fret, those are your notes. You're going to get this. And just by touching the string and then playing it, giving it a nice thwack, a little bit maybe closer to the bridge here, and you get this bell-like sound. What's happening is you're dividing the string in half. It's exactly in the middle of the string. So that's the first harmonic. It's an octave above whatever the string is. When we go to the 7th fret, that's when we get these. And so these are the notes. And just notating harmonics can be really tricky and confusing. Make sure that that you use these diamond-shaped notes. That usually a guitarist will just interpret that as, oh, that's a harmonic. But you might want to write something like, often it will just be written harm, which, yeah, harm, that sounds a little bit funny, but, or harmonic, they might even just write arm. If the score is from a European publisher. So, and then another thing is these little circles around a number, that's telling you what string you're on. So that's the 6th string and the 5th and the 4th and the 3rd and the 2nd. And usually, hold on a second, I just lose my, just to keep working.
Don't worry, Jay, we've all been here.
Okay, alrighty. So we got there, now we're here, now we are there. There's arpeggios and here's the harmonics. So this little, it's actually a really good idea for you to put that little circle number, because that'll really help the guitarist to know where the harmonic is to be played. And you might even just say, like, if you just want them to play this harmonic, you could put arm or harmonic, and then you could also just put you could put 7th like that. Actually write 7th or even 7th fret. You want to be really, really clear, or else the guitarist is just like, you can spend like half an hour trying to figure out what 3 notes are if it's not well notated. And then also octaves. Usually we don't write the octaves way up in the stratosphere. So that's on the 7th fret. You got an F sharp would be that, but it's just write it like that usually. And let's see what else. So on the 5th fret, This is 2 octaves. So this is the E string, but it's the second harmonic and it's 2 octaves above. Notice that as you get higher and higher, the harmonics on the treble strings are harder and harder to hear. So be judicious on that too. Maybe you want to hear a loud thwack, you know, who knows? But use at a certain point on the really high harmonics, the sound of plucking is louder than the sound of the harmonic. Another thing just to notice is that this can be played on the 7th. It can also be played on the 19th. Oh, where is that? So, 7th and 19th. Okay. There you go. Because that's dividing the guitar into fourths. You've also got harmonics on the 5th fret. On the 4th fret, that is a major third above whatever note your string is. So on the 6th string, you're going to get a G sharp. And on the 5th string, you're going to get a C sharp. You can go higher. You can do a harmonic on the 3rd fret, which is 2 octaves and a 5th. If you go in between the 3rd and the 2nd fret, you get kind of a 2 octaves and a minor 7, which can be an interesting sound. You can also play harmonic chords. Let me just show you. So this is Miguel Llobet, 20th century romantic Spanish guitar composer. And he really went to town with his harmonics. Wrote really beautiful things with them. And, let's see if I can get this right. So here's another case where it would help if he had written more of these like little circles with the actual number on them. But you know, you're supposed to use your noodle and actually, I have a recording of that piece on YouTube. If you're curious, you can see how all those harmonics are played when I've actually practiced them. It's really beautiful. Now here is an example of artificial harmonics. He says you know, this is an old score. There's a million different ways to call it in a score, but the artificial harmonics, let me show you how these are played. And this is kind of the range of them, because what you're doing is you're taking your index finger and you're touching a string here, 1 octave above the note, and then you are plucking it with this finger. So in other words, you can play a scale then. Or you can use your thumb for that too. And when you get up high, like here on the first string, that would be this note, which is a high B. That's what Julian Bream was saying is the highest harmonic, artificial harmonic, but you can go higher. You have to estimate. And there's actually a lot of music I've encountered that use harmonics that are above the 19th fret here. So judiciously, you can use those. What is this? Oh, that's the. So here he's. I don't really play this piece very much, but I'll just show you. If you go, I'm starting right here because I can't make heads or tails of that first part at the moment. So. Oh. Retune the string. So it's a very delicate kind of sound, and it can be really pretty. Again, use it judiciously because it will just get monotonous maybe. And it's actually not that easy for guitarists to project. If you want something very intimate or like just a quiet section, you can use those. Percussive and extended techniques. Tapping the guitar in various ways. If you think of the guitar as a drum, everywhere you hit it, it's going to get a slightly different sound. And it's probably going to be a little bit different on different guitars. You can also get a really thin sound by tapping here. You've also got the flamenco technique where they actually, if you have a guitarist who knows how to do this, you can see I've got a protector here that keeps me, when I hit it with my fingernail, it won't destroy the guitar. So I can do like. So I can strum the guitar and tap it at the same time. And some guitarists can do that. A lot of them won't be willing to because they don't want to destroy their guitar. Then you've got tambora, which is basically you have a chord and you use your thumb to kind of tap it just below the bridge. That's tambora. And it can really be used, if you use it here and there to evoke something or other, it could be really cool sounding. You got various sounds. I mean, when I'm teaching kids, often I do this, like, okay, make a sound with the guitar, and I'm going to turn away and I'm going to try and guess what you did. And so they'll do something. But for instance, you can do this. Play above the whatever this is. That's kind of a harp sound. It's very limited. You can also do here. That's a little bit tricky to know what's going to happen. What else can you do? You can do this. It puts the string out of tune, but it's kind of a comical sound. You can also snap the strings. This is common. It's similar to like slap bass. And slap bass players will do that all the time. Guitarists will do it occasionally. And we got, what else? There's this weird drum. In which I take one string and I put it over the other string. Or I even take two strings and I put them all over another string. Sounds kind of like a snare drum. If you do it on a different fret, it'll sound like a slightly differently tuned snare drum. And again, it could be useful in an ensemble piece. If you can figure out how to play a melody while you're doing that, it's actually possible. Another thing you can do is dragging your thumbnail up and down the string for a kind of a wind-like sound. That's done quite a bit in at least some more modern music. You can also use muted string as a percussive technique. And what else? And of course, bending the strings is actually very possible on the classical guitar. Yeah. So if you want to throw in a blues feel and some bends, if you know something about electric guitar techniques, you can try some of those. A lot of them, of course, they're not going to really work above the 12th fret. I try to play Stairway to Heaven solo or something like that on the classical guitar. Sounds ridiculous. Again, it's that limitation where you're suggesting all these things, but you can't actually do what the instrument can do. Now, I don't really have that much prepared about working with the guitars, but usually guitarists are pretty eager to work with composers, and they're motivated because they want something good for the instrument. And I don't know how true this is anymore, but I know in my life I was often motivated by the desire for something big and important. So I would play something I would play premieres by composers, pieces that were just incredibly difficult. But the challenge of, having a piece that was like Sebastian Courier, he wrote a piece for guitar. It was like Bartok on steroids. I wouldn't play it anymore. I'm not ambitious like that anymore. But you can write something, let's see, let me just read through this so you get my gist. We do have a desire for something big and important, or at the very least, we want quality things. So it can be a small piece as long as it's written with imagination and quality. But by great repertoire, I mean something like, a sonata on the level of Beethoven or whatever, which is probably not going to happen, but we keep hoping. So whether what you write is technically or musical ambitious, as long as it's imaginative, evocative, and high in quality. Don't underestimate what a guitarist will be willing to contribute. And this is the beginning of my list of repertoire, and I didn't have time to fill it out, just like I didn't really have time to finish the last page. But I think that is the end of the presentation that I have prepared. So I guess I'll just open it up to questions.
The notation for a barred chord, is that, how does that, was that like the X? It said X or something above it, or X, like a Roman numeral or something, or?
So, yeah, the notation for a bar chord, actually, no, there's not really a notation for it. It's just whatever the notes are.
Yeah.
Whatever the notes are, you've got, the guitarist is going to kind of decide that it's a barred chord.
Okay.
And they'll work with that, yeah.
Did you have a piece, I think it was Cimini or somebody? Maybe I got the name wrong.
Cimarosa?
Or
Yeah.
what was it? There was one that looked like there was like an indication for a bar.
Oh, okay. So often it'll just say, it'll say C5 or B5 or something. It's again, like the notation for a bar is often sort of, let's see. No, I'm not there. Yeah, the notation for a bar is, it varies.
Mhm.
Yeah, C5, B5, or just 5. Often it'll be like a Roman numeral 5. That means you have a bar on the 5th fret.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing in one of the pieces of music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I saw a question about microtonal. Yeah, writing. So microtonally, there are guitarists who write microtonal pieces, and it's used. What they do actually, they either have a fretless guitar, but actually, I mean, the fretless guitars exist, and it generally sounds better for pop stuff. But there are also guitars that have exchangeable fingerboards, so you can remove the fingerboard and it'll have like the frets in weird positions for different microtonal tunings, or for different kinds of tunings that use microtones. And I've never experimented with that, but it is really interesting. So if you are interested in writing microtonally, you could like retune the strings a little bit. You could put it in the middle. Or you could just tell your player that you want that one string just a little bit higher. So if it's a good player, they can actually bend some strings and leave others intact. So it is possible. I've tried playing Indian music on the guitar, and that it's sort of possible, but kind of, again, it's, you have that limitation, and it's more a matter of suggesting the feel of something and letting it evoke something. But if you really want to get microtonal, or especially music that uses tones in between, either you're going with blues, which the guitar seems made for, or you are just get a sitar. Or go with the fingerboards.
Anybody else have other questions for Jay? Hey, Stephanie, let's say you must have one because you're a guitarist also.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to be the person who said, well, this is more of a comment than a question. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but I just, just want to say thank you for the presentation. And I really appreciate hearing the guitarist perspective laid out the way that you did. One thing I would say to any composer that wants to write for guitar is speaking as a player, and not at a very high level either, and not a great sight reader either, but regardless, get a guitar player, hopefully the one that you would like to perform. I mean, the specific performer that you'd like to perform your music, get them involved at an early stage.
Yes.
Because just the fact reading, I don't know if you'd agree with this, but sight reading guitar music is a very different proposition from sight reading piano music.
Yeah.
I think every guitarist has the same issue where, because there are different places that you can sometimes find the same notes, it's not immediately evident where you need to place your fingers. And there are some things that, that might just be too hard to puzzle out when you can actually get with the composer and have them, instead of having to read music that was written without your input, be able to guide them to make it more readable. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Did that make sense at all?
No, that's a really good point, because a lot of you'll kind of get some guitarists who are just pretty good at sight reading, but still, I was looking for this piece. Oh, I played a piece written by a Russian composer, Igor Vorobyov, and that was for Composer's Concordance.
Uh-huh.
And it was, let me share it with you. It was so hard to read, that it really took me literally a month before I even had any idea what this piece really wanted to sound like. And he had worked it out so carefully. And so, it was awkward. It's awkward. I did an okay job with it. And you can see.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, if he had been there with you, and to say, oh no, I was imagining you playing it up here on the higher frets, or on these strings instead of where you're trying to get it, might have saved you some time.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I don't know if there's an easy answer to that. Sometimes you just need to do a lot of detective work when you're reading guitar music. The more annotations the composer can put, the better.
Yes.
But,
and I think what you're saying is that, like, when you bring a piece to a guitarist, it might just be not readable.
Right.
And they'll be just like, what? Quite often, especially if you're writing in a more, 21st century style, more like atonal, or somewhere in between, with extended techniques or whatever. It'll take them a while to figure it out usually.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the comment that I actually wanted to be sure to make. Like, as a composer, you might have to adjust your expectations a little bit for how fast the guitarist will get your music together.
Yeah.
So anyway, that
is really true. And this piece was an extreme example, and I could tell when I finally played it for him, I think he probably had like some super gift of whatever, just like young hotshot Russian guitarist had played it, and he heard me play it, and he was like, "Oh, wait a minute, no, this is not what I want," all this kind of stuff. But I,
Oh,
you know,
well, I
but-
hope it was worth it. It sounds like a nightmare.
it was, you know, again, that's that like that great piece syndrome where we're
Yeah.
like, oh, I really wanted to find out what this piece was like, and it's actually a great piece in its way.
When is there a recording of it that's available somewhere?
Yeah, there was a. I should look it up. I have never found a, you know, professional recording of it,
Mhm.
but I do have a version of it. Maybe I'll put it up on my website. But
Okay,
it was from the concert.
great.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay, I don't know if you're gonna share your PowerPoint or your keynote
Oh.
with us, or,
I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing it, but I wasn't. Or
Yeah.
was it?
no, you were during, this is the old, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. That. So
Oh,
you can-
okay. Oh,
This-
nice.
It's. I mean, yeah. It's very. I mean, look at that.
Yes. Hmm.
It's intense.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
It was hard to play, and a lot of harmonics. You know, that was the thing that made it difficult. Actually, was that if you wanted a note to be high up, you would do an artificial harmonic, and then he kind of expected it to be loud at the same time as it was, you know, one of those light artificial harmonics, and so.
Oh,
A lot of
yikes.
good ideas, but to pull it off was a little bit. So yeah, in general, just go easy on the guitarist. Think more, you know, unless you have somebody who's just, you know, a young virtuoso of the highest order, who's just eager to show off.
Yeah, then let them have it.
Let them have it. Yeah. They'll be like all over the place. Yeah, but if it's
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is
Does anybody
great.
else have more questions or suggestions, anything for Jay?
so, yeah, I mean, I'm imagining, because I've mostly shared pieces that are like more traditional in style and maybe not composers that you might be emulating. I don't know what your styles are, but if you're going for more of a I don't know what, inventive, I don't know what the right term, you can't say 20th century anymore. But if you are going for, you know, whatever, 12-tone, atonal, or something in between, there's plenty of music that exemplifies that too, and some is really cool. Oh, actually, the one I would suggest, like, listen to Benjamin Britten's Nocturnal.
Hmm.
Have you heard that? That is a really great piece, and also his songs for voice and guitar. They're really the guitar part is really interesting, fun to play, sounds really cool. Michael Beazer, he wrote some pieces for flute and guitar. Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting and good, more modern pieces for guitar. And this is the one that I meant to, let me see.
Oh, Tessa just suggested Pascale Creton for microtonal guitars.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so Stephen Dodgson. I mean, he was big, I don't know, back when I was learning guitar, because he wrote some cool stuff for the guitar. But these 10 studies are a really good compendium of techniques that are, you know, written in a style that's more modern. Also, Leo Brouwer wrote a bunch of really cool pieces Bruce McCombie, he was a, yeah, I can't, I wish I knew some women composers that were doing some good guitar stuff. And so, it's up to you to go to town on this. I don't think they're the one, let's see, okay, there's I can't think of her name. I played played her pieces in it'll come to me. Joan Tower, is that her name?
Oh, yeah, Joan Tower.
Yeah, Joan Tower. She wrote some really cool pieces for guitar and flute that I played. I think there are any others, just not that many. So the field is wide open. I want to hear your voice. Yeah, so
Fanny Mendelssohn wrote something too, didn't she? Or
who?
Fanny Mendelssohn?
That I don't know. Oh, let's see.
Yeah, so it's up to us, ladies. We have to
Yeah.
get this out here.
So
Yeah, let me see if anybody else has more questions or anything, or that we can let people take off a little. And are you willing to, if somebody has a question, to entertain an email or?
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I can, I'm going to fill out my list of composers that you can study.
Okay.
I spent yesterday evening and today just kind of filling everything in from all my ideas, but I didn't even have a chance to go back to my music stash here. And I've got a whole lot of stuff back there and some obscure things and whatnot.
Okay, yeah, if you share it with me, because I have the list of people who are here, I can share it with people if you want.
Cool. Yeah.
Beth Anderson Harold said she wrote September Swell for guitar and mandolin. Okay, Beth, okay, we're gonna have to hear this at some point.
Oh, cool. September Swell. Yeah, that's another cool thing that can happen when you combine stringed instruments. I mean, the mandolin is really high pitched and kind of shrill, but also can be really pretty. And yeah, you get a wider range.
Okay, great.
Who else wrote for mandolin was who's that? Yeah, I can't think of his name. One of the seminal American composers, but I can't think of his name.
Yeah, it's hard when you're on the spot.
Yeah.
Okay, so does anybody else have anything to add for Jay? Because I kind of kept everybody a little longer than we expected, but like you said, he'll share some things with me, and I can, since I have everybody's email, I can share that with you afterwards. And I guess Mikkel will take the recording and make this available too, so we can see his fingerings and music that he was playing. I had some things that were cutting out, so I'm sure it's probably okay on the regular recording. My internet's not the fastest. So, but we'll see what happens with that.
So Christopher.
Are you looking
For guitar and English horn? Yeah.
You know Chris Cation? He's Minnesota based.
Don't know him. But.
He's
Cation? C-A-S-H-A-N?
Chian. Cation.
Cation.
Anyway, I worked with him, and the advice to work with the guitarist is really good. Like we really worked together a lot on making it. And it, just plays well.
Yeah.
Because of him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, you can, even if you don't know that much about it, if you work with a good guitarist, you're going to learn pretty much everything that I talked about from a good player.
Really helpful.
Yeah. but hopefully it's helpful just to have it all laid out too.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's call it a session. And so I hope everybody's okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's some things here, I guess, in the chat, which will, I guess, get shared with the video. So thank you, Jay. This is like really interesting for
So useful,
for
helpful.
guitar. Yeah, it was really good.
Thank you.
All right, yeah. Thanks for sticking with me, and I hope you learned at least one really thing that will really help you a lot.
Thank you.
Great piece for guitar. And I'm
Okay, thanks.
hearing you.
Okay, we'll get started.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay,
Bye.
I'm gonna show up the
All right,
recording.
bye. Bye, everyone.